Hoya guys, back to our YouTube channel. Thanks for your great support. Nyinyi ni watu wa nguvu zaidi. Karibuni tena niendelee kupakulia jinsi ambavyo mambo yanajaribu kufanyika hapa nchini Kenya. Without wasting time, kitu ya kwanza guys, Ndindi Nyoro decided to educate member of parliament in parliament yesterday. Sijui kama uliona jinsi ambavyo parliament ilinyamaza kimya wakati ambapo huyu Ndindi Nyoro alikuwa anajaribu kuzungumza, lecturing them. You know guys, William Ruto moments amekuwa kiboro hizi do secretly, and Ndindi Nyoro amekuwa kiwitness, but watu wengi hawakuwa wanafuatilia. But huyu jamaa unajua amekuwa chair of the national budget, akakuwa kicked out. Unaona watu wangu, kwa sababu ya kukataa ku support impeachment ya Gachagua na kusupport finance bill 2024 to 2025. You can just imagine, wakati ambapo mnafanya right thing, serikali ya William Ruto itakangi. Mkifanya maovu ndio William Ruto huwa anataka zaidi. And that's why unaona anaekanisha watu kama kina Kimani Ichung'wah kwa mitego, wafanye mambo maovu, ile wakati ambapo watakuwa wanakuwa kicked out, hakuna mtu atakuwa anawatetea. So guys, Ndindi Nyoro tunaenda kumwangalia mwisho, but saizi tunataka tuangalie key points. Tunaanza na mid-term report upande wa Kisii County. Osoro alikuwa ameongoza wenzake upande wa Kisii. Na ukiangalia vizuri kuna huyu mama anaitwa Ruto'S from Kisii County. Is a member of parliament. Yesterday wakati ambapo alikuwa anajaribu kuzungumza in front of the residents in Kisii, then you are going to realize that how watu wamekataliwa, because now zile reports ambazo wanajaribu collecting from the residents itakushtua. Na wakati ambapo wanaenda kuzungumza kwa press, wanatuambia kwamba Wakenya wa Kisii wamesema kwamba William Ruto amefanya mambo mengi pale Kisii County, ambayo pia inawaforce kurudisha William Ruto mamlakani. But ukweli wa mambo ni kwamba wakati ambapo ama jamaa walikuwa wanazungumza pale ndani ya hall, you are going to realize walikuwa wanakuwa heckled. Angalia. Anakuwa heckled wakati ambapo alikuwa ana praise William Ruto huku akiendelea kushambulia Fred Matiang'i. Nilikwambia guys, hao majamaa saizi William Ruto amerelease do ili ku make sure wanapata support kila mahali. Kama ni empowerment programs pia wafanye nini, wafikishe. But now empowerment programs imekataa. Mliona zile doa mama wanapata ni 64 bob. So ikawa haina maana. Unaona watu wangu, Mr. Yesa anajiforce, but soon anaenda kuwa kicked out, huku Gladys Wanga kifiksua kama running mate wa William Samoei Arap Ruto. For me, Professor Kithure Kindiki anafasa hizi hawezi kujiondoa na kujoin Rigathi Gachagua. Unaona watu wangu, maybe Professor Kithure Kindiki anangojea tu Because pia unajua kipawa hizi do za empowerment programs, kuna do na patapata pale ndani, anaziweka pia, ana release hizi, anaziweka na release. After all, William Ruto atakuja kuangalia pesa ngapi zilitumika. Because akifika mahali fulani akitoa do fulani, ni hivyo tu. Unaona watu wangu? So now, wakati ambapo Sora amekuja kuzungumza, hii ndio report alikuwa anapeana. Sikiza.
Tumekutana kama jamii ya Kisii tukiwa watu takriban 3,000 katika hii hoteli yetu ya Camel Park hapa Kisii, na ni viongozi ambao wamekuwa drawn from kutoka 45 wards zetu za Kisii County, tukiwa na viongozi wa kanisa, viongozi wa masoko, viongozi wa bodaboda, viongozi kutoka sehemu mbalimbali za katika uongozi wetu wa Kenya hii. Na nia yetu kuu ilikuwa kukutana na kufanya ile tunaita stock report ama mid-term report and review. Tumeangalia tangu serikali hii ingie uongozini kutoka 2022 hadi saa hii 2025, ni nini ambacho kimefanywa Kenya hii na haswa ambacho kimefanywa Kisii hii. Na of course tumeweza kutaja maneno ya barabara ambazo zinajengwa hapa sehemu zingine. Tumeweza kutaja maneno ya hospitali, maneno ya SHA, tumeweza kutaja maneno ya agriculture na impact kwetu hapa. Kura iko 2027, maendeleo ni sasa hivi. Kwa hivyo wenzetu hapa wametueleza kama viongozi tuwaongoze, waweze kujua vile maendeleo kwao inaweza fika, kwa sababu hatuwezi kuwa tunapiga tu siasa ya mdomo peke yake. Na wameomba Mheshimiwa Rais aweze kuwatembelea ama wao wamtembelee, wamualike kirasmi ya kwamba aje hapa Kisii azindue miradi ya maendeleo.
Fred Matiang'i sisi hatujajua kama anauliza urais, kwa sababu hajasema uwazi ya kwamba kama anauliza urais. Yeye hajakutana na Wakisii waeleze. Sisi tumekuja kukutana na wao kwa sababu wametuita wajue serikali inaendelea namna gani, maendeleo watapataje, na ndio kwa maana tuko hapa. Maneno ya Fred Matiang'i, kama anataka kusimama rais, yeye ako na jukumu, ako na haki ya kusimama urais, na kila mtu atasimama urais. Hata Nyachaya alisimama urais, wengine Wajakoya walisimama urais, ni jukumu lao. Hata mimi huko mbele nitasimama urais, lakini kwa sasa ni maendeleo kwanza.
So mambo yamechemka upande wa Kisii County, wakati ambapo hawa close allies wa William Ruto wanajaribu kujituma zaidi, huku akijaribu kupush Fred Matiang'i kwa ukuta, but there is no way. Unaona watu wangu, second story of the day ni kwamba Waititu Ferdinand Waititu, baba lao, huyu jamaa alipatikana na allegations za kupora 500 million Kenyan shillings. Unaona watu wangu, hadi baadaye akawa arrested, na baada ya kuwa arrested huyu jamaa ametoka na bond ya 53 million Kenyan shillings. Na watu wanasema kwamba hii yote ni njama ya William Ruto kumekisha huyu jamaa na toka pale ili afanye nini? Akuja msupport in 2027. Sikiza.
It was a sigh of relief for former Kiambu County Governor Ferdinand Waititu, who had been sentenced to serve a 12-year jail term or a fine of 53 million shillings after the judge Lucy Njuguna allowed his fresh application for bond. Waititu, represented by lawyer John Swaka, had filed an appeal and sought to amend it with new evidence, an application the court accepted. The charges stemmed from the irregular procurement of road construction tenders in Kiambu County during his tenure as the Kiambu County Governor. And the High Court has overturned a previous acquittal of 3 former permanent secretaries, Joseph Magari, Dave Mwangi and David Onyonka, alongside businessmen Deepak and Rashmi Kamani, implicated in the 3.5 billion shillings Anglo-leasing scandal, and ordered their retrial. Justice Benjamin Musyoki ruled that the 5 will take the stand on Thursday, 7th August 2025 at the Anti-Corruption Court, reviving one of the Kenya's most infamous graft case. However, the judge dismissed one charge of conspiracy to defraud.
And order in place thereof that the respondents are hereby put on their defense in respect of the mentioned count. This acquittal is the acquittal in respect of count 1 is hereby upheld. The respondent shall appear before the Chief Magistrate at Anti-Corruption Court on a date to be fixed after this judgment for further directions on the defense hearing.
Elsewhere, former presidential aspirant Robert Kigame had filed a private prosecution suit at the High Court in Milimani against top state security officials, seeking to hold them accountable for the alleged role in the killing of 100 Kenyans during the 2024 and 2025 anti-government demonstrations.
We filed this case so that this matter can be escalated to the international community, and I hope that envoys receiving this, that international media, and all that are concerned with what has been happening in Kenya will escalate this so that the whole world knows.
Through his legal team, Kigame expressed willingness to escalate the matters to the International Criminal Court should local mechanism fail.
To get permission of the High Court granting Mr. Dr. Kigame permission to institute this private prosecution that the relevant authorities have failed to do.
At Kahawa Anti-Terror Court, the co-founder of Fighting Brutality and Impunity Patrick Osoi alias the Sixth and Jackson Kuria alias Kop Shakur will remain in custody at Muthaiga Police Station until Friday, 8th September 2025. This is when the court will rule whether to allow the detectives from criminal investigations to hold the respondents for 14 days to complete investigations. On Thursday, the prosecution led by Harrison Kiarie objected to the application by the defense to have Osoi released on a cash bail, saying he is a flight risk. Letua Debra for Prime Edition.
So lingine ni kwamba Rigathi Gachagua's challenge ya kuchallenge DP Professor Kithure Kindiki imegonga mwamba, wakati ambapo the three benchmarking judges the same ambao Rigathi Gachagua alikuwa watakiwa wafanye bench hearing ya kesi yake, ni wale tu wameweza kurule tena kwamba Rigathi Gachagua kesi yake imekuwa rejected ya kumpinga Professor Kithure Kindiki. You can just imagine. Skiza.
The ruling issued Thursday at the High Court Milimani by a three-judge bench consisting Justices Eric Ogolla, Anthony Mrima, and Dr. Freda Mugambi has yet again dealt a major blow to the former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, whose quest to overturn the swearing-in of Deputy President Professor Kithure Kindiki was rejected. Gachagua's team had challenged the decision of the earlier bench, constituted by the Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu, saying the decision to allow Kindiki's swearing in by an unconstitutional bench was a fruit from a poisonous tree.
These applications have been overtaken by events following the ruling following the judgment by the Court of Appeal and the ruling by this court.
It will be very untidy for us you and us, to argue over those rulings. If the directions are not proper, you know how to move the vote.
Gachagua's defense had also sought to challenge the current number and membership of the bench, with petitioners in a separate matter represented by lawyer Kibe Mungai terming the membership as a result of forum shopping.
It is the Chief Justice and she alone who can decide the number of judges to assign a matter. The prayer for referral of the matter to the Chief Justice for empanelment fails and is declined.
The former DP, however, got a win after the court threw out a petition by Frederick Muller to take over the petition from him as a matter of public interest.
Given that the first petitioner has successfully revoked his withdrawal notice and remains ready to prosecute his petition, substitution is unnecessary and premature.
The former DP's team had, in a previous court proceeding, told the court they had abandoned the quest to have their client pursue a reinstatement to the office of the Deputy President, with Gachagua now seeking compensation.
We will further seek to persuade this honorable court to grant him the emolument he would have earned that he served for the entire 5 years.
Part of what Gachagua wants is a 1.2 million shilling monthly salary for the remainder of term he was to serve, which will translate to about 40 million shillings. He also wants his security and other related retirement benefits reinstated, among other hefty perks, according to the office of the Deputy President.
Kufikia pale guys, ensure umelike video na nasema thanks kwa hiyo like yako, wakati ambapo tunaenda kusikiza Ndindi Nyoro jinsi ambavyo alikuwa anajaribu lecturing member of the parliaments in the parliament yesterday. But kabla tufike pale pia, I want you to listen to something here. Kuna huyu Gen Z amejaribu pia delivering the message to President William Ruto, because now William Ruto anatuambia kwamba anajaribu creating jobs outside the country, abroad, wapi. And amesahau ya kwamba kitu ya kwanza anafaa ku create jobs hapa nchini Kenya, ili uchumi wa hapa pia iwe bora zaidi kuliko nchi zingine za nje, because hawa vijana wakienda pale nje watakuwa wanaenda kuboresha uchumi wa kule nje, but William Ruto wants them to get out. Sikiza.
Get some two more voices before they do come and move this conscious forward. Let's pass the microphone to the back, to the gentleman on your back. You're burning with this issue. Please stand up, your name. And on the question of jobs abroad, are they solving our economic problems here, unemployment problems here? Where do you sit?
Thank you very much. My name is Mushiru Wakagoni. I am a youth leader at Gatondo North constituency in Kiambu County. And I want to disagree with absolute totality that labor export is a solution to the unemployment we have in this republic. In fact, satirically speaking, I think we should change, or we should rename the Ministry of Labor to Ministry of Human Export. The government is so focused, it has forgotten what we call industrial revolution, and it has embarked on airport revolution. It wants us graduates, instead of lifting our graduation caps, it wants us to be lifting our passports. That every young person of this nation should be queuing in airport to move abroad, to develop other economies, whereas we have our economy as a country to build.
Okay.
It is really unfortunate.
All right.
And maybe one point before I sit down.
Yes.
The president also said that in the last 2 years, the government of Kenya has exported 400,000 youths. We have 730 days in 2 years. If you divide 400,000 by 730, it means that the government has been exporting 548 youths each and every day, including Sundays and public holidays. Yeah. And from my little knowledge, I understand that the biggest aeroplane at KQ has a capacity of 250 people. So it means 2 big aeroplanes at KQ move out of the country each and every day, export people to different destinations of the world to work there. I think hii ni maajabu. What are we really talking about? Uongo ingine.
Sir, thank you.
It is really unfortunate for us young people.
Your point is made. And Eric Latif, on the facts, your job is on shaky grounds. You'll be unemployed very soon.
To highlight the primacy of agriculture in our economy, Kenya, where over 70% of the rural population in Kenya is actually engaged in issues around agriculture. And our GDP, its highest weight is actually in agriculture, and especially when it comes to employment. Honorable Speaker, when you talk about pyrethrum, we talk even in generality to all the other crops including coffee and tea. And I'm happy that with the registration that we continue to do even in this House, we continue to move away from what used to be there before, the bodies and especially marketing bodies that had been formed around pyrethrum, tea, coffee, and all the other crops, and especially immediately after independence, was more of extractive institutions other than institutions to add value to the farmers and the stakeholders. But we have continued to move away from that, Honorable Speaker, which is a very good thing and has been happening in this House, where registration is going towards more of aggregation, putting the produce together so that we set and we source best prices together, and especially for farmers. And in that respect, everyone earns. But, Honorable Speaker, we need to understand that the economies across the world, including Kenya and the other developing countries in the global south, and even the developed, has gone through stages and are going through stages. And the stage number one, which is usually basic, is agrarian. The second one is manufacturing. And the last one being what the general world is experiencing now around technology and information, Honorable Speaker. In one of the definitions of what constitutes a developed country, Honorable Speaker, it is actually a paradox. This sounds like a paradox, that in the definition of a developed country, one of the parameters is for the agri side of the business, of the economy, the primary side of the business, and especially agriculture, to be actually less than 10% of the entire GDP. This sounds like a paradox, that even when we promote agriculture in a developing country like Kenya, one of the parameters of measuring that a country has actually developed is when we diminish the composition of agriculture in the wholesome economy, Honorable Speaker. And that happens because of many reasons. As you know, agriculture is based on something we call diminishing returns. In a country like Kenya, what we do is that we till land first where it is evidently productive. After tilling land where it is evidently productive and requires only rain-fed, which is rain-fed, Honorable Speaker, we then go to other areas that may need mechanization, may need irrigation, may need much more inputs. The side, Honorable Speaker, the agriculture side of the economy, Honorable Speaker, then continues to diminish in returns the more you expand production, the diminishing return way of primary production and agriculture, Honorable Speaker. And when you compare the same with manufacturing, manufacturing is hedged on what we call increasing return to scale. So that after you produce the first product, any other succeeding products are produced with much lower cost. And that is why most of the developed countries, Honorable Speaker, including a country like South Korea, a country like Japan, even the US and the UK, there is no economy anywhere in the world that became a developed country on the basis of agriculture. Agriculture has to always transition into manufacturing, Honorable Speaker, and for many reasons. Any business you do around agriculture is based on market prices, because the produce from agriculture has no differentiation. When you talk about a mango produced in Kenya or maize produced in Kenya, you can't differentiate those products from any other produced elsewhere. And therefore, the farmers and the producers are always the slaves of the market prices. And there is nothing you can do about it. Commodity prices are driven by market prices. But when you come to manufacturing, what economies do, you can have an economy producing cars, but differentiating that car from the other may actually be the basis at which prices are varied. And therefore, you can end up increasing whatever return you get from manufacturing of cars, Honorable Speaker, by just doing price differentiation. The second thing, Honorable Speaker, and I've talked about it earlier, when you engage in production that is based on increasing return, that by itself is a catalyst for you to produce more. And Honorable Speaker, therefore, what usually happens, there is a basis of mechanizing manufacturing in terms of increasing production, which also diminishes cost and also enlarges the return, by itself becomes or creates a virtuous cycle within the economy. But when you really engage so much in primary production, it creates a vicious cycle where you have to depend on seasons, you have to depend on the weather which you have no control over, you have to also depend on market prices, which you are actually made a price taker, not a price maker as a producer, which is not a very good thing. Lastly, Honorable Speaker, where the world is going, and we can only reprog as Africa, we can only jump some of these processes, Honorable Speaker, because we are more or less an agrarian economy as Africa. We may have to reprog or jump a stage of manufacturing to now catch up with the other world, which is now currently in tech, and especially tech around big data and also AI. And Honorable Speaker, we have no choice other than to do that. Because yes, we need food security guaranteed through agriculture, but in terms of increasing productivity per person, you cannot increase productivity per person if you do not depart from primary production. And Honorable Speaker, just to put it into context, currently the composition of the Kenyan GDP, agriculture constitutes around 18%. Agriculture including fisheries and forestry, what we call primary production. Manufacturing, which also now includes logistics around manufacturing, constitutes just around 17%. 65% is actually service. But what is service? I'm trying just to demystify from the other ones I was talking about tech. And what is the paradox around it? That agriculture, which constitutes around 18%, employs 70% of the rural population. Then only one thing can be deduced from there. That if you are employing too much with so few, then productivity is too low. If so many people are engaged in an 18% segment of the GDP, then it means the 70% are earning too low, and therefore the productivity is too low. Basically because there is a limit to which you can mechanize agriculture, and there is a limit to which you can do increasing return to scale. Now, when you come to manufacturing, what do we actually call manufacturing in many economies in the global south? What we call manufacturing is actually agriculture value addition. Agriculture value addition meaning whatever we call manufacturing in Kenya, a bigger proportion is what adds value to what we get out of primary production. Honorable Speaker, even within manufacturing itself, we need to scale to higher levels of manufacturing. Higher levels including machinery, including higher level that requires more technology. Again, in that level, where do we play as an economy? We only play around assembly. Many times you confuse manufacturing and assembly. When you have a vehicle being assembled in Kenya, that does not constitute and cannot pass as manufacturing, Honorable Speaker. Manufacturing should go into components. Whatever you are assembling, where are they coming from, Honorable Speaker? And also, going back to the same primary production, whatever you produce in primary production and you sell it in that form, what you actually do is you are exporting to, Honorable Speaker. When you produce minerals, when you produce fisheries resources, when you produce forestry resources, and when you produce agricultural resources in raw form, and then you hand them over through export to another economy, Honorable Speaker, you are handing over increasing returns, you are handing over more productive jobs, you are handing over taxes, which would have been derived if that was done around, Honorable Speaker, and therefore you are actually handing over what is more productive in the entire value chain, Honorable Speaker. So we need to also move, that is the point I wanted to make, that even beyond primary production and manufacturing, we need now to move on the side of tech, which could be found around mostly the service industry. So that even within the service industry, which is dominant in our economy, Honorable Speaker, we move from the low-paying service industry cadre. We now scale up to what has more productivity. Because whatever we call, Honorable Speaker, a service in Kenya is more in terms of hospitality, in terms of retail and wholesale, in terms of logistics, Honorable Speaker, transportation, and the rest. But Honorable Speaker, if you look at the productivity there, because mechanization is low, productivity per person is also low. In a lump sum, Honorable Speaker, we need, even if we talk about agriculture, even if we talk about this bill, we also have to think about manufacturing And also we have to think about the modern economy, which is now tech around big data and AI, but also without forgetting that manufacturing is the one that actually creates jobs in scale. If there was more time, Honorable Speaker, I would have given more points around even the inequalities that could be created by dominantly jumping into tech without engaging in manufacturing, but I leave that for the other members to also give their views. I submit.